Okay, we're on location here to talk to you a little bit about how to fix certain parts of a power recliner. In this case, this is a Southern Motion recliner. We're going to talk about the USB power supply. We're going to talk about the motor. We're going to talk about the 3 possible things that could go wrong with the recliner. We'll talk about what we did and how we did it. So let's dive in. Next to the power supply, the second issue that usually goes out is this button, right? If for some reason all of a sudden you know, like in this case, it's pretty simple. You got a blue light on a USB, so that's kind of cheating the system a little bit. But if you don't, if you have a traditional another button that doesn't have a USB or doesn't have a glowing light, and all of a sudden you're touching the buttons and nothing's happening, the issue you have is your button supply. On this one, some of them have like a vanity cover. So if you just undo that, it's real simple, 2 screws. You can undo both of these screws. The button's gonna come right off, and then I'll hop into the back and I'll show you how we replace that. But that's how it is. Now there's lots of different types of controls, right? This is just the 1-2 button with a USB. This one is a very popular one we sell. This is the 4 button with USB. You know, 2 buttons for your power headrest, 2 buttons for your recline, and then of course a USB. And you know, that kind of, it installs the same way. This one doesn't have a vanity cover, so it just goes in and you have 2 screws that hold it in place. Other chairs have what's called a hand wand. So this hand wand actually, the hand wand with USB, could actually directly replace this. So if for some reason you didn't want a button, sometimes people have a surgery on their right shoulder, there's no way for them to reach it. Replacing it with a hand control is a lot easier than having this button control on the side. You could replace it. The reason being is it's just a simple 5-pin connection. And you can see this 5-pin connection. You'll see when we go down into the motor that this is the same connection that goes into here. So if your power supply is fixed and you know that's working, the next option is this button supply. And like I said, we've taken off the vanity cover. Now we're going to flip over the couch and I'll show you how we would fix that from the back. Okay, so now we're going to come around to the back. We're going to show you how to change this button control. So if the button control goes bad, you can order a new part from us. We'll send one out and you can show how it works. So what you'll see in here, this is the button control that comes out of the back of that button. It's all one piece. There's no connection here. It goes right in here. So as soon as you take out those 2 screws, this button control will make that loose and it'll come up here. Now, as you come up here, you'll see this cord comes here, and this cord right here is what plugs into the motor. The motor has 2 connections here. One is the power supply, right? This 2-prong. And then the other one is this 5-pin connection that we talked about. That's just like this. Now, a lot of times this is zip tied, which it should be, right? That keeps it next to it. Doesn't get underneath here, so it doesn't get rubbed on the ground. And a lot of times what will happen is if this does go out, it's because somehow this got rubbed or it got pinched in the connection. Okay, so now we're gonna show you how this works. So once you've unplugged it, you could unplug this whole thing. You might have to undo this zip tie here to get it out to replace it. But I'm gonna show you how this works. So when you replace your button, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take your new button. Again, it's just a 5-pin connection. That's how you kind of know it's the right one. We would take this 5-pin connection, you can plug this in, and as you see, as you plug it in, if it does have power, again, this one does light up, so it's real easy, but it shows you, hey, this is in, it's working. Then you would take this, wind it back up through your couch. If it's a button, do that. If it's a hand control, obviously it goes up through one of the cushions. In the side of the cushion, you're gonna put it up there. But that's how you replace a control. Now, a quick note, if you're replacing what's called power, it has, you know, the power recline and the power headrest, that actually has 2 motors. So you're gonna have this base motor down here, then you're gonna have a motor up in the headrest. And you'll see on this control, so this is the 4-button control we talked about earlier, it has 2 connections. One that's called primary, one that's called secondary. In your power, in your motors underneath here, there will be a little tag that will say primary, and then on the one up above in the headrest, it'll say secondary. And that's how you know which one to plug in. But that's why you have 2 5-pin controls, because you have 2 motors. This one, of course, only has 1 motor, so that's all we're dealing with. But wanted to show you that so at least you knew what that looked like.